This higher intelligence, if we can call it this way, was trying to to manifest maybe something on this planet, on this earth, through you. I mean, how did it communicate through you? How does it communicate with us? Can you tell us?
You know, all of us have a sense of direction, a sense of inner guidance. And I've been interested for my whole life. How does that larger flow of intelligence communicate to us and work through us? How can we kind of catch the tail of the flow and work with it to co-create a better world? And so my husband, Gordon DeVaron, and I asked that question together a few years back, and we wrote a book called Your Soul's Compass. And the subtitle of that is, What is Spiritual Guidance? And we interviewed 27, mostly lineage holders from different religious traditions, males and females. So we interviewed Catholics and other Christians, we interviewed rabbis, we interviewed shamans, Buddhists, Hindus, Quakers, and a few medical intuitives too, and asked them a dozen questions about what is spiritual guidance, how does it work, how do we hear it, what blocks it, what allows us to pay more attention to it and to see it. And what is so merciful, I think, about the educating function of the universe is that it speaks to each one of us in language that we're capable of hearing. One of the people that we interviewed for Your Soul's Compass is Sheikh Kabir Helminski, who is a Sufi teacher and he's a Mevlevi dervish, that's the order of Rumi. And he was saying, well, you know, guidance, there's actually an aspect of the divine, one of the 99 aspects of the divine in Islam, whose mystical branch is Sufism, which is called Rab, same root as rabbi, the teacher. And that educating function of the universe is always working in us so that we can awaken. And in that awakening become a little wiser and more compassionate so that we can bring those gifts to the world.
So that involves a lot of trusting, though, and a lot of allowing.
It involves trusting, allowing, and it involves discernment. One of the big questions we ask the sages is, how do you tell the difference between the ego, your own wishful thinking, your own grasping, your own desiring, your own fear, and actual guidance? And I think that's a very important question, because a lot of what passes for spirituality is people wanting to find a way to get their own way. And that's not spirituality at all. And so this discernment is a very interesting thing. When we asked Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, one of our Jewish rabbis, how do you tell the difference between your ego and guidance? He laughed and he said, if you have the answer to that question, Joan and Gordon, I'll become your disciple. So, discernment is a lifelong orientation to pay attention, to pay careful attention to your body particularly. Your body has a tremendous knowing. When does your body contract? When is there a lot of fear present? And by the way, fear is not always a bad thing. We have fear because we need it or we won't survive. You better be afraid when it's appropriate. But when in daily life, when there's no reason for fear, is the body contracting? When do you really feel present and expansive? In general, one's own true nature or essence is expansive. And you can tell when it's moving and present and touching that larger intelligence when you feel more expansive. Then, you know, some people have goosebumps. There are all kinds of physical sensations and maybe different chakras or areas of the body. And you need to pay attention to synchronicities, which are sometimes guidance and sometimes not. And sometimes you interpret something as guidance, but you interpret it through the ego in a way that, oh, that's what I want, when in fact maybe the synchronicity is a warning. So
That's a very good point, yeah.
Yes. It's really a lifelong discipline of paying attention and then experimenting. You get what you think is guidance. Do you act on it or not? That's one level. If you don't act on it, why haven't you? You have to take a look at what are the blocks, what are the fears, and of course you have to look in all cases. The discernment is, if I act on that, is it compassionate? Is it an act that's going to increase the amount of love and freedom in this world? As you asked about awakening, Lilou, awakening is all about interior freedom. When you're no longer bound by desires, by fears, by the past or the future, but you have the courage to be present in the moment as it is. And so you learn through discernment more about where you're stuck. And almost all of us have plenty of places where we're stuck. And then if you've taken action on where the guidance is, then you've got the after-action review. Well, how did it work out? And looking at that, you can say, I see, I learned something from it, either how to follow my guidance, or I learned more about how I get in the way. So there's no 10 easy steps, I always tell people.
But the review and the gratitude, the moment where you're grateful for what just happened, just helps to expand, I guess, to new levels each time. And a deeper...
Well, gratitude is a very expansive state, absolutely. And if you think about what presence is, what mindfulness is, the capacity to appreciate the light that comes into the room, to appreciate the beauty of your face. I wish the people viewing this video could see you, Lilou. And it's all about relationship. Presence is relationship to life. And gratitude increases our ability to relate and enjoy and have pleasure and participate really in the feast that life is.